100 minute. Pick your brain.
Okay.
What's a good time? I'd have to check that extension. No, I'm going to, look at the public hearing. Good evening. Before we start our regular meeting, we do have a public hearing for the purpose of our franchise agreement between the town of Tustin and Spectrum Northeast, which is a subsidy of Charter Communications. The floor will be open for anybody that's got any comments regarding that. We'll only be here till 6:30 when we can start a regular meeting. Enjoy the silence. This has turned into a barn burner.
Ben, I got something to say about Spectrum.
You need them up at the microphone?
Speak the microphone.
Yeah. They do the whole Zoom thing.
Nobody can hear me up there?
Well, for the people on Zoom. Oh,
They might not want to hear what I gotta say. Well,
Sure they'll be entertained.
anyway. I don't know if you're aware that we had a power outage this weekend. And Spectrum was up to their usual bag of tricks. You gotta realize that Spectrum has no credibility. None. They'll tell you everything that you want to hear. And maybe 30 to 40% of it's true. If any. But anyway. Besides that, they it didn't, all the electricity came back on, still no internet. So I call them up and I follow them up. Well, first you got this excuse and that excuse. And then I said, well, where's your generators? We don't have any generators. We rent a generator. We rent space on a generator from somebody else. So they have no control over the generator. So wherever it is, either down in Barryville or Middletown, if there's no power outage, the generators ain't running. Plain and simple. So you don't get any internet. You know, and now recently we've had all a new wire put in from Ortiz's, well, I guess the town barn down. And now we got, instead of one pole, we got two poles. They're not gonna take the pole out. And I'd like the town to set a limit, a time limit on when they're gonna switch the wire over and take the pole out. Which they're probably not gonna do anyway. I mean, is that the scenic river corridor or is it not? Yes or no?
It is. Jim, to be honest with you, I don't know if we've got the ability to put a time limit on it. It's run by the federal government. I could check on it, but I don't believe that we've
It's
got.
run by Spectrum.
Well, the franchise agreement is something that the federal government requires them to have. I don't know that the town of Tustin has the authority to tell them how soon they've got.
Don't sign it.
Well,
You know, if I don't want to sign something, I don't put the pen in my hand. And you can tell them the reason why. Give us a date when you're gonna transfer the wires over to the new pole. And take the old poles out. Because all NYSEG did was cut them off above the cable line. You know,
right, they have to move their wires back onto that pole.
onto the new pole, right? You know, and they're in no hurry to do that. Because I've called up about that also. You know, it's I mean, Ben, you know, it's like the tail wagging the dog here. right now you have the ball in your court without a signed agreement. If they want,
Actually, we don't. We don't have it. You know, this is a formality, Jim, unfortunately, that we go through. This agreement hasn't been signed in several years. It's something that they are required for the regulators, the federal government. Us not-
evidently, Ben, it's not that big a deal if it ain't been signed in a couple of years.
It's a 15-year agreement and, you know, I don't know what the answer to make it happy is, but us,
Well, hopefully it won't go on too much longer because Frontier is supposed to be bought out by Verizon.
Yeah.
So,
that's a whole nother thing you can look at. Look at the number of trees that are on Frontier's lines.
look at all, I mean, who's responsible for that in the right of way? Is that the township?
No, it's Frontier. If it's on their wires, they're
How
responsible.
about the ones that are on the cable wire?
Whoever the cable company is,
You sure?
positive.
Well, you think they'd be taking them down, wouldn't you?
You would think so. I watched trees land and they're still there months later. I don't know what the,
Months later, then there's spots where trees are laying on wires for years, Ben, for years. They're in no hurry to stick. You know, as long as they get their monthly fee. When you call somebody up, oh, we don't do that, we don't do this, or we don't do that. You know, when you call them up this last time, when's the internet gonna be back on? He says, well, when the power goes back, I said, the power's been on for a day.
I don't have an answer for you, Jim. This is just a public hearing to hear the people's complaints.
Well, I'd like somebody here from Spectrum to, you know, represent Spectrum. Evidently, they don't care about signing this agreement either. Anyway. Thanks for your time.
Okay, thank you, Jim. Does anyone else have any comment either on Zoom or in person regarding the Spectrum public hearing? If not, a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make that motion.
Second,
I second.
all in favor?
Right.
Aye, opposed. At this point, we will open our regular town board meeting for the town of Tustin. Start with the.
But allegiance to the flag. of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, we have a presentation. Dr. Ressler from the Sullivan West School District.
Thank you guys for having me. First of all, I want to start off by, of course, by thanking the Narrowsburg Tustin community for its support. Actually, I think we've had some really great partnerships this year with a lot of community members in Tustin. For example, the Youth Commission, Tustin Social. And I would just really appreciate all that this community has been providing our students at Sullivan West. Secondly, I just, of course, want to thank community members for the support of the budget for the past year for 24 and 25. With that, we were able to have curriculum lead teachers that were really focused on looking at our curriculum and aligning it vertically and horizontally. We were able to, for the first time in a very long time, offer driver's education courses during the school day instead of just running a summer program, because the summer program only meets with a limited number of families that can provide transportation for their children, and wasn't giving access to students who need to work. So driver's ed during the school day has been so great that next year we're going to offer even more spaces for that. We have continued to have growing courses in agriculture, expanding our FFA club opportunities. I think we've continued to be able to go to state and national competitions. Last year, the governor had mandated the science of reading development and curriculum for all grades, pre-K through 12th grade. And of course, with the budget, we were able to provide supports for our teachers and really focus on the science of reading initiatives that we had already started in our elementary school. And additionally, last year, we were able to fund increased school safety with the addition of 2 armed guards, 1 in each school building, in addition to our SROs. And they have been a welcome addition, actually all the way around, just provide safety, but really part of our school community as a whole. Something that everybody always asks me about is how's the enrollment doing at Sullivan West? We have been continuing to go pretty steady. We had 1,040 kids in our seats. That means pre-K through 12th grade inside the district. We have another couple hundred, not a couple hundred, excuse me. We have another 100 or so that is homeschooled or private schools. But 1,040 this year were in our seats in our school building. I had done a enrollment study in 2022 that said over the next 10 years, we were going to lose about 58 seats, but truly that's coming down to a couple of classes that were really large. Typically our class size runs between 70 and 80, kind of fluctuates. We have 1 class in the high school that's at 92, and our 7th grade class this year is 106. So I don't know what went happen those couple of years, but we have had a real spike, and it's at those times when those classes graduate, because the incoming classes are around 70, 75, between 70 and 80. So that's looking good. We always make our budget decisions off of our strategic plan. So I believe the 3rd Thursday in August, we have a community event that we would invite all of you or anybody who wants to join, where we discuss our goals for the upcoming school year. We look at our plan, we tweak it if necessary. It's from 2022. It's really a 3 to 5 year plan. And then at some point, we're going to refresh it pretty soon. But this year we feel just like another update. But again, that's an open community event. And that's where we look at our district goals and say, is this working for the entire Sullivan West community at this time? So based off of that, that's how we prioritize our budget decisions. We align them with our school goals. And then additionally, when our board gets together and really starts making more difficult line by line budget decisions, we have a guided document called Assumptions and Parameters, where we recognize, we make statements and it's approved by the board, where we say that we're going to adhere to recognizing fiscal challenges by state and local taxpayers, plan for future educational needs and long-term stability and integrity of our funding resources, conscientiously address all safety and security needs, and of course, recognize the need to accommodate or fiscally plan for the New York State education, very popular unfunded mandates. So all of that goes into our budget decision making. For this year, things that we have been focused on as far as our programming for 25-26, we have continued to keep an effort to keep our elementary school class sizes down. As I was talking about enrollment before, and I will not really know until the doors open in September, but we've had a lot of families come and forth, a lot of families that are switching from private schools back to Sullivan West. It's very exciting, but we wanted to make sure that we're still keeping our class sizes K to 2. We like them to be under 20, and then 3, 4, and 3 to 6, they can be over 20, but we're really not, we want to stay under 25, certainly. So that's our focus of making sure that we have class sizes down. In our high school, we offer a wide variety of college credits. And right now, this past year, 75% of our seniors graduate with at least 3 college credits, and 50% of our seniors that graduated with at least 9 college credits. We have some seniors graduate with 15, 20, 28 credits. I mean, it's just phenomenal that we can continue to offer that, because we believe as taxpayers, there should be something that you can kind of get back as well as a partnership. So by providing those college courses really helps with tuition for students that head on in that direction. We've also, on the other end, continued to expand our preschool services, especially in the preschool special education. The county is supposed to and does oversee it and provide programs, but they've been really short-staffed. And so we have been filling out forms to become a provider of preschool special education services, which we can do now. And so we will be hiring a preschool special education teacher to provide those services. And we're very excited because early intervention is really, you see such amazing results there. We are going to be able to continue our school security measures, including those guards in each building. And also we've been restructuring and strengthening our facilities department. Lorraine Poston was in charge of that department for about 20 years. And so it just gave us an opportunity to kind of look at it with fresh eyes and do some restructuring. And we are in a really great place. So for the part that everyone's waiting for, our tax levy, we are proposing a 2.99 increase to the tax levy this year. It is under the tax cap. The tax cap required was that we stayed under 3.25%. So we did not even go out that far because of course we're trying to recognize everybody's fiscal challenges. So we're recommending 2.99. You may know we did receive our full foundation aid, which was what was proposed being cut last year. We were safe there. What we did lose, if you see in the aid category on our budget sheet, was a little bit of building aid, and that's expense-driven aid. So we didn't have the expenses, and so we're not receiving the aid. So I know I had spoken at another town board meeting, and they had said, oh, you said we were getting this aid, but there's another part. So foundation aid, which is what's guaranteed every year, that was guaranteed, and we got 2%, so that's great. We anticipated that drop in building aid because projects have come off of our books and the new project is going on. So there's just a little kind of working that period out. And then of course we use a little more fund balance this year than we have in the past just to also help us through this transition. But we are in a good place and we're going to keep tax levy where it is at 2.99. Overall, the budget will be $43,266,206. Significant drivers to that, of course, consumer price index, retirement systems. They are constantly increasing that contribution. BOCES prices have increased. Health insurance, not as drastic this year, but it still was up 5.5%. And we had a new increase, which was in our regular school insurance, and it went up 17%. So right now we have a new school business official, Claudia Dietz, and she's really done her due diligence. So we are shopping around to see if we can get a more competitive rate from other providers. Of course, it's a monopoly and there's not too many providers out there, but this is what we can do. So for estimated tax home in Coshocton, $100,000 home estimated an increase of $56.45 a year. $200,000 per home is increase of $112.90 per year. And of course, the vote is May 20th from 12 p.m. to 9 p.m. right here in your Tustin Public Library, which also has fabulous programming for our students. It's really, really a great spot. Any questions? I know I went through that kind of quick. Yes.
When you say that you're picking up what the county can now provide for the pre-K special ed, which thank you and congratulations on all the wonderful things you told us about. Does the county pay for the programming that they are unable to provide, or does that come out of our school taxes?
They're going to reimburse us.
Okay.
So for what the county provides that we can now provide, they reimburse us. And actually they already do that for speech pathology, occupational therapy, and physical therapy.
Wonderful, thank you.
How are we doing reading and math scores? Or is there that kind of?
We are very competitive and we score at some of the top of our our colleagues in the county. Right now, it's just still been a climb, I think, after COVID where, and the opt-out movement. So right now, one of our goals with our district plan is, and a question that I ask my admin team monthly is, do our students know how to read? How many students are reading on level by 3rd grade? Because that's a huge marker.
Mm-hmm.
Then we actually added academic support services in our middle school last year, which we had not had in such a formal way as we were trying to do this year. So again, if they do get by those markers, you know, what are we doing to provide resources support? But we are pretty competitive with our state data.
And what's the reading education method that you adopted?
So right now,
Is it
we've kind of,
driven?
after we came back from COVID, we recognized gaps. We actually began looking at the science of reading then, which is the governor last year said, you know, yes, all schools should do it, but we've already been looking at, and that includes a lot of phonics, phonemic awareness, repetition, especially in K1 and 2. And then as we grow older, building in those comprehension skills. So what we do is, we look at the state standards and then we have resources, a resource called UFly, which provides the books that teachers may use. In addition, having curriculum leads, we have grade level meetings where teachers get together and they're able to say, you know, what is going on in kindergarten? I want to make sure I'm aligned in first grade. What's being taught in second grade? We want to continue that alignment. There's no silver bullet to reading.
No.
You know, some people are like, oh, we should get this X program, or there's no quick fix. So it's really just, I think, constantly looking at the kids that are in front of us and adopting our own curriculum, using research-based resources to supplement and to provide them the direct education that they need.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, that's much more informative than if you gave me a score. I'm happy to hear what you're doing on that level. It just opened the score, you know, is kind of the benchmark, but and you do whole language in the lower grades
We're really,
or at all?
that's really a different program that we haven't been using
Okay.
anymore. We're really focused on kind of the components are, where's your phonics, where does writing fit into it, and then comprehension on top of that.
And you find that most kids respond to that
Yeah,
style of learning?
yes, we've really revamped the whole literacy block. And it's highly teacher driven because they're the ones that are seeing the results in front of them and what's worked and going from there.
Thank you.
So, but it's a work in progress. We're always gonna keep working at it.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
My husband's birthday.
Have
Yeah.
a good evening.
Thank you.
Enjoy. And then
Sorry, one more. If I could just always still give a shout out to Don for my 4:30 a.m. calls and texts. Tried and true, although you guys do not seem to get the weather of my counterparts in the rest of the county. You know, every once in a while, there's that crazy thing where you do get a storm and Calhoun doesn't, but I really appreciate him, so please.
you'll pass it along.
Thank you.
Our legislative representative, Kat Scott, is here.
Hello, everyone. And just to clarify, I have met with Dr. Bressler about the early intervention, where kids 0 to 3 get evaluated to see if they have any kind of challenges that they may need intervention with. And unfortunately, we've had a loss of providers, which is something that we see across the boards, you know, in healthcare and other places. So it is something we're working on, and I'm very happy to hear that Sullivan West is hiring their own providers, because that is something that we're responsible for, is providing that intervention so that kids can be as successful as possible by the time they get to kindergarten, which is what we all want. I'm looking for somebody who is interested in serving on the Charter Review Commission. Every 10 years, Sullivan County brings together a group of wonderful citizens who want to take a deep dive on the charter. And the charter is that document that kind of, you know, guides the county and how it runs. Very exciting stuff. But we,
Just thinking about it.
yeah, we appreciate the efforts of those who spend the time just looking to make sure that the county is running at its most efficient possible. So anyone who's interested, please reach out to me. You'll just need to submit a letter of interest. to the clerk of the legislature, and I'm happy to provide that information.
But you're not looking for elected officials.
No.
Right, just in
No.
case these guys all of a sudden got a
Yeah.
formal volunteerism that they wanted to jump up on.
Well, I'm particularly looking for people who don't serve in other boards or on other things, right? Fresh eyes. Somebody who can just take a look at it and give their thoughts on it. So, and you would have my gratitude. Does that help? All right, and again, anyone else who's had any issues with NICEAG in the past, if you, yeah, I mentioned this last time I was here, but if you have not been reimbursed for anything that happened during those brownouts and those outages, please let me know and I'm happy to help in any way. But that's it for me tonight,
Thank you.
unless you guys have any questions. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Other boards, let's me out.
Announcements, the mobile DMV will be here next Tuesday, the 20th, from 10 to 3. And what I forgot to give the clerk to put on this, Sunday, May 25th at 2 p.m. is a Memorial Day service by the Tustin Settlement Association. That will be down at the Baptist Church. They have the Tustin Highland Lumberland VFW that also does a graveside service. So it's a worthy endeavor to show your support.
Can I ask a quick question? Does anyone know if the DMV is able to provide real ID?
Not at the, they can only do that at the, there is one, I believe Jeffersonville.
No.
Can we turn in plates here,
Yep.
you know? Oh. We have to
Do
make
everything.
a reservation.
You can go online and make one, or you can usually just walk in, but they tend to like the.
And they'll
regular-
renew your license, they'll just use your old photo. You can put a new one.
I have a real ID. I just know a lot of people with the new deadline. So I just thought I'd ask.
Snuck up on everybody.
I have.
The payment of bills, the general account dispersed $44,377.67. Highway dispersed $91,202.04. Water, $20,709.46. Sewer, $20,606.98. The lighting district, $5,651.57. Capital Water, $7,253 for a total of $189,800.72. Kevin and Bruce did the bills. Any questions, discrepancies, concerns? A motion to accept the bills as presented.
I mean,
A second? The other person? Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Again, our division reports, those that are not read here, will be available online. The highway department, I don't know if anybody gets to go down Lackawaxen Road much, but it's probably worth a ride to see one of the last jobs that the highway is just completed. They really did a good job. I made sure I told Don that, but, he had over 100 tandem loads of fill have to come in to redo part of the road and get it ready for paving, so, they do a nice job, and I just figured we should acknowledge that once in a while. That being said, Harrisburg Water and Sewer. Building code, Water Sewer Committee, Kevin.
The headlines are, well, 2 remains a work in progress. They fix a leak, find a new one. A new one finds them. Jane, it's probably dovetails with the grants, but you've got this, Northern Borders. It's a
Right, we're
long
waiting.
job, but that the long-awaited water tower, specs are with the Department of Health, and Delaware Engineering's trying to goose that along. I think we mentioned it a few meetings ago, the software for the meter reading, laptops will turn into a pumpkin with Windows 10, I think. I'm an Apple guy, I don't know. In November, and, we've got the software and Craig's looking for a laptop.
Any questions from the board? Tuscan, you?
So our exciting news is that we've been waiting for the county to open up another grant cycle, and we just received word this past week that is now open. So we'll be seeking permission from the board this evening to apply for additional funding for new programming or additional programming for the year. We do have some upcoming trips and information planned. The first thing I want to share is we are working with the Chi Hive here in town. And this May 19th, which is coming Monday, from 6 to 7:30 at the brewery down on Main Street, the Big Eddie Brewery. We will be hosting a program called Foster Curious. This is the first time doing something like this. Susan from the Chi Hive is the brain power, and Abby from the want to make sure I get this right here. From Children's Home of Wyoming, the Sullivan County chapter. The program is intended to just bring awareness to Sullivan County of what the foster program is and how you can get involved if you're curious, hence the name. You don't have to foster a child to be involved. And this is how Tustin Youth was involved. We are co-hosting this with the two that I had mentioned, because we have had foster children come through the town. And as Tustin Youth, our mission is to serve all of our local children. And we've had a lot of foster children come from local foster parents. A few in our audience with them. They come to our programs, and as the sidelines, we work with the foster parents because a lot of them do have some baggage or trauma, so they make us aware of it. And knowing this, we can help meet their needs a little bit. And one of the most recent ones in our after-school program, 5-year-old came to Pete and Leah, and she has a lot going on, and we have a little 5-year-old girl going to Sullivan West, and we work with the school, like Dr. Bressler said, and she came in diapers at 5, and that's kind of heartbreaking. But she came to our after-school program, and we watched her thrive, and we communicate with the foster parents. So anyway, the point is, it takes a whole village for any child, especially for a child who might have special needs, and it's only temporary. We know she wasn't here to stay, but she left, she went back to her parents, and we hope it's success. But there will be more. So we're excited to work with Susan. So if anyone is interested in coming on down, and some of our teen and tween Tustin Youth local children will be helping Susan with childcare. So bring your kids. So that's this coming Monday. Upcoming trips really quick. If anyone's interested in Kalahari, we're going in October. We still have rooms open. You do not have to be Tustin. We get a group rate. Check our Facebook page for particulars on all of this, but Tustin Youth will be going to Great Escape up in Lake George. And it's going to be open-ended, which means we will get the tickets and then you can go when it's convenient for your family. We're working right now with the carousel again. We went twice last year, very successful. We like supporting local businesses. So that will be in July. And also, I'm gonna leave this up front at the table with the town board. Our after-school club continues. This cycle ends in June. It's continued to be very popular. We have a steady base of about 15 to 25 kids. We do compete with after-school sports sometimes and other activities. Working with Sullivan West, the bus brings them here. And the last few months, the kids have been working on a unique project inspired by their hometown of Tustin. It's an acorn village. Never would think it'd be this popular, but they get to play with glue and paint acorns and hot glue, and they're learning crafts. And they are actually creating a rather large acorn village, like 6 feet long or wide. And we're working with the DVAA and Ariel, and it's going to be on display, and they're creating a little exhibit for the kids. So we'll be sharing more details of that soon. But I have pictures. The kids were very proud to share what they're working on, and I'm going to give that to the board because they're very proud of this. And I just want to say that Tustin Youth is only a board of 6 moms. We're local moms, right? But we have so many volunteers in this community, and this after-school program has evolved a lot over the last few years. And we have 4 or 5 local women. Some of them don't even have children, ever have children. Some have children in their 20s, but they fell in love with this town and this program and these kids that they know in and out now. And they've taken over, and they are our own little committee of volunteers in Tustin Youth, and they're amazing. So I just want to thank all the volunteers in this community because it goes beyond what the 6 of us can pull off. So. Do you guys have any questions?
I do.
Yes.
It's not a question, just a reminder that we did receive the Sullivan on the 80 grant, and part of that is to learn about trees.
Yeah.
If we can get together and
Absolutely.
find a.
I like it.
Thanks.
Did you have something to add? Because I see you biting your nail.
The interesting piece, just so the board knows tonight, about the kids Acorn Village, if you give them, we all think a village and a community, we think houses and homes. We gave them stuff to create houses and homes. I don't want to give you too much of a spoiler, but I can tell you that as of right now, there's maybe only 3 actual houses on this very large village. But the pieces that are in this village are all about community. They're community spaces where all the kids, they keep saying, oh, me and the neighbor or a grandparent or a friend or cousin, we can go here and do X, Y, and Z. And we can go. It's all about togetherness, which is their village, which is huge. It's not a village like we would think.
Not their
of, a bunch
house.
of houses. It's what we try to bring to town. Kind of interesting.
We'll keep you posted on when the exhibit is. So we'll all go. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Parks and public spaces.
I'm busy looking at an acorn. We had a very productive meeting. The big news is that there is going to be a dedication ceremony on June 7th. For the naming of the sports court and the ball field. There will be light refreshments and speakers talking about the people for whom the spaces are going to be named. There's lots of other details in here. Trees are getting planted on May 15th. Shout out to Cass for helping coordinate that with the people that are coming in to do that. Wood chips have been delivered, and the children are enjoying that pile of wood and chips. And several other projects are coming online before the park dedication. And I believe Little Lake Erie, thank you, Ben. If you haven't had a chance to drive past, we have updated, renovated benches that now have a back on them. And I think they look really, really good. So a shout out to Tom Kawachi and his crew for donating the materials and the service to make that happen. The stairs, the risers down toward the water were replaced with Trex material. That is already graded, so it should not have any slipping issues. And we've replaced the rail going down to the water for people who fish in that area. Some of the wood that was used is pressure treated, and before we can seal that, it will have to mature, but that is on our radar. When the pavilion opens, we are going to be looking at new picnic tables for that area. And we have we plan to repurpose the picnic tables that were there, paint them, and then create an area that families can eat at closer to the ball field when they're watching their kids play sports. So that should move some of the activity over to the other side of the park, which I also think is very nice. So I'm very good buy-in from people have been attending our meetings, very appreciated, and hopefully you'll see some progress soon.
Any questions for the parks? No? Kathleen, do you want to do your,
I can do some.
you want to read it? You don't
I
have
have my
to.
glasses.
Okay. We'll throw it back to Kevin with the parking.
Well, the big headline with the parking is that Don came within the estimates of between 18 and 20,000 to repave the municipal lot by the bank lot. It needs this board's approval, but he thinks, we'll move ahead with that. And I think that'll open up a few new spaces, and it'll, it needs to be done. Another thing is Martin and the chamber want to revive that 20-year-old sign that announces building businesses that haven't existed in a while. But first, some trees need to come down. for visibility, and he's looking into that.
Can we go back to UGC report? We have a new acting superintendent.
Acting for hundred and 20 days, right, yeah.
What happened to our other one?
She's just being, she's got promoted for 120 days
Oh,
until they fill that position. So,
oh,
but she's looking forward to coming back to being
Okay.
Lindsay, yeah. So it's a temporary gig, but, it is what it is.
thank you.
But she's still physically going to be there, but her role is gonna be like the, assistant deputy.
Over to the building.
We had a very productive meeting. We met with Jim Crowley to get a better understanding of some of the projects we're looking at for the building. How they would be affected by codes so that we make informed, efficient choices. We received an estimate for a camera system for some of our public spaces that will be discussed. It just came in, so we aren't ready to discuss that, but please know it's on our radar. And got a thorough update of all the potential projects we're considering. No real decisions have been made yet on how they're going to be prioritized. And all the details are in the report.
There are details in the building. Conservation Advisory Council meeting.
Yes. Thank you to anyone here that attended the third and final public meeting on April 29th. MJ Engineering led that meeting. There were approximately 25 residents there. The CAC committee will meet tomorrow at 1 o'clock to discuss the public comments that occurred at the public meeting. And the project, you should know, is nearing completion. The grant ends in September. So we're getting, we just have the summer to get it done. And part of the grant was to have informative talks for the public. So we're working with the library, and the CAC committee had come up with a couple subjects. And so we're going to do small woodlot management. What's new with our Upper Delaware River Eagles, and creating public spaces reflecting community identity. So I think that should be nice, and that'll be at the library. I wanted to say one other thing. Oh, can we have a Zoom tomorrow? At 1 o'clock?
So what time?
MJ Engineering at 1 o'clock?
No one.
Oh, probably 3 the latest.
Yes.
Yeah,
Is
Thank
that the CAC meeting?
it is.
Okay, so that's May 14th, right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Oh, it says the 13th. What's
Okay.
today? Oh, it's the 14th. Thank you, Kath.
Over.
Yeah.
Over now.
Want me to go on the ground?
Yes, you're on a roll.
Okay,
Go on.
so, you brought up Kevin, up the Northern Borders Regional Commission Cascade Grant. We're hoping, I think we're not supposed to find out until August for that one. And they're still working on the USDA grant for well number 3. That'll mean about 500,000. And yeah, everything is, work continues. Oh, but the good news is we were awarded $15,000 from Sullivan 180, and the work will include the following. A landscaper to work on Kirk's Road maintenance. Additional trees for Kirk's Road. I hope everybody did notice the trees that were in bloom this spring, because they're starting to get larger, so they're a little more noticeable. It'll include the signs that come from the Parks Department, and mowing for the triangle, and the flower pots in front of Town Hall. That's most of what it includes. but it's 15,000, so that's good. And that helps us because otherwise we would have had to pay for some of this. That's that.
It's an outright grant.
That's a matching grant or?
I never remember.
You haven't mentioned that it's matching.
Yeah, that doesn't mean anything. I don't remember. But all I know is it's, you know, the thing is, we always pay for mowing and we always pay for a landscaper, so it helps us no matter what.
That'll be good this year, that budget for sure.
Yeah.
Number 4, moving into old business, the Spectrum franchise renewal. We have a resolution as presented for the renewal of the franchise held by Spectrum Northeast LLC in the town of Tustin. A motion to accept the franchise renewal is presented. I will make the motion.
This is strictly this is cable, right?
Yes, this
This
is
doesn't even cover internet.
correct. Well, they have internet
it does.
through the cable.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll second it. It's a formality.
Further discussion or questions on that? All in favor?
Right.
Aye, opposed.
Nay.
4.2 is the purchase of real property. As part of this, we do need to do the short environmental assessment form, part 1 and 2 and 3. So the project sponsor information is the town of Tustin. The name of the action or project is a purchase of 50 by 100 foot parcel of vacant land adjoining the town of Tustin Highway facility. The project location is the South Trail number 3 in Narrowsburg, New York, town of Tustin, Sullivan County. Tax map parcel number 16.5-6. Description of the proposed action is the acquisition by the town of Tustin of a 50 foot by 100 foot parcel of vacant land adjacent to the town of Tustin Highway facility. The name of the applicant is the town of Tustin Town Board, 210 Bridge Street, Narrowsburg, New York. Does the proposed action only involve the legislative adoption of a plan, local law, ordinance, administrative rule, or regulation? No. Does the proposed action require a permit, approval, or funding from any other government agency? No. Total acreage of the site of the proposed action is less than 1 acre. Check all the land uses that occur on, are adjoining, or near the proposed action. Rural, non-agricultural, agricultural, commercial, residential, suburban. Is a proposed action a permitted use under the zoning regulations? Yes. Is it consistent with the adopted comprehensive plan? Yes. Is a proposed action consistent with the predominant character of the existing built or natural landscape? Yes. Is the site of the proposed action located in or does it adjoin a state listed critical environmental area? No. Will proposed action result in a substantial increase in traffic above persistent levels? No. Are public transportation services available at or near the site of the proposed action? No. Are any pedestrian accommodations or bicycle routes available on or near the site of the proposed action? No. Does the proposed action meet or exceed the state energy code requirements? Yes. Will the proposed action connect to an existing public-private water supply? No. Will the proposed action connect to existing wastewater utilities? No. Does the project site contain or is it substantially contiguous to a building, archaeological site, or district which is listed in the National or State Register of Historic Places, or that has been determined by the Commissioner of the New York State Office of Parks and Recreation and Historic Preservation to be eligible for listing on the State Register of Historic Places? No. Is a project site or any portion of it located in or adjacent to any area designated as sensitive for archaeological sites of the New York State Historical Preservation Office Archaeological Site Inventory? No. Does any portion of the site of the proposed action or lands adjoining the proposed action contain wetlands or other water bodies regulated by a federal, state, or local agency? No. Would the proposed action physically alter and encroach into an existing wetland or water body? No. Identify the typical habitat types that occur on or are likely to be found on the project site, check all that apply. Fourth, agricultural grassland. Does the site of the proposed action contain any specific animal or associated habitats listed by the state or federal government as threatened or endangered? No. Is the project site located in the 100-year floodplain? No. Will the proposed action create stormwater discharge either from point or non-point sources? No. Will stormwater discharge flow to adjacent properties? No. Will stormwater discharges be directed to established conveyance systems, runoff and storm drains? No. Does the proposed action include construction or other activities that would result in the impoundment of water or other liquids? No. Has the site of the proposed action or an adjoining property been the location of an active or classified solid waste management facility? No. Has the site of the proposed action or an adjoining property been the subject of remediation for hazardous waste? No. That's part number one. Part number two. Will the proposed action create a material conflict with an adopted land use plan or zoning regulation? No. Will the proposed action result in change in use of intensity of use of land? No. Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of the existing community? No. Will the proposed action have an impact on the environmental characteristics that cause the establishment of a critical environmental area? No. Will the proposed action result in an adverse change in the existing level of traffic or affect existing infrastructure for mass transit, biking, or walkway? No. Will the proposed action cause an increase in the use of energy and it fails to incorporate reasonably available energy conservation or renewable energy opportunities? No. Will the proposed action impact existing A, public-private water supplies? No. B, public-private wastewater treatment utilities? No. Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of important historic, archaeological, architectural, or aesthetic resources? No. Will the proposed action result in an adverse change to natural resources? Example, wetlands, water bodies, groundwater, air quality, flora, and fauna? No. Will the proposed action result in an increase in the potential for erosion, flooding, or drainage problems? No. Will the proposed action create a hazard to environmental resources or human health? No. Part number three, determination of significance. Nothing in part two is identified as moderate to large impact may occur. The property to be acquired is adjacent to and will be incorporated within the existing town highway facility premises. Based on the information and analysis above and any supporting document, that the proposed action will not result in any significant adverse environmental impacts. All I need for those, correct? Yep. Okay.
I missed part of it. Could you reread?
Any planning board meeting, you read it over and over and over. Breaking everything everybody said was part one and part two, and three, right?
Oh, were there 3 parts?
Yeah.
About longer.
4.2 is a resolution authorizing the purchase by the town of Tustin of a parcel of vacant land located on South Trail number 3 and identified as tax map parcel 16.5-6 at a purchase price of $2,000. I would accept a motion for the resolution as presented for the purchase of that tax map parcel. I will make that motion. Do I have a second?
I will second.
Is there further discussion by the board or questions?
Just one thing, it was reported in one of the papers that we were going to be paying $22,000 for the parcel. That was a mistake. In case anyone was operating under that understanding.
This is a roll call vote. Bruce? Aye. Kevin?
Aye.
I'm an aye. Greg?
Aye.
Cass?
Aye.
I'm sorry?
Fantastic.
Do we have any other old business
I, just looked up the Sullivan 180. It is 25% match, which is $3,750, which is. the
Easy
new-
enough to do with the Mullen bid
Yeah.
alone.
Yeah. Or
That's
whatever,
good.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'll put that under new business. for the parking lot. Yeah. If we've got no other old business. You okay? Good. Yep, no question? We're good for questions. New business. 5.1. A motion to authorize the Tustin Youth Commission to apply for additional grant funding and programming.
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 5.2 is the continuing contract with Peter Manning, who has been doing our planning work for the town. And this is to assist in the completion of the comprehensive amendments to the zoning law. This money
Which-
is in the budget.
Well, we can maybe put that in the National Fish and Wildlife budget.
Okay,
Which would be really nice.
but we do have the funding for it, and this is more or less a housekeeping, keep him going.
Is there a number?
7,500.
Okay.
But I would make a motion to authorize the supervisor to sign the planning services agreement.
I'll second.
Further discussion? All in favor? Aye, opposed? 5.3, I was speaking with Don over the last couple of weeks, and we do have the possibility that one of his members will be retiring at some point this year. Depending on when that happens, that could leave the department in kind of a lurch. So my suggestion to him was to start looking for a heavy maintenance equipment operator. And I would like the board to authorize the superintendent to start a search for a hire. He does have enough money in the budget if we pull somebody in earlier to be able to fund that position. My fear is that if the worker decides in September to leave, that we would be coming into snow season without the person being there. And finding how the workforce is, I think to be proactive would be good for the highway department.
I'll make that motion.
Second,
I'll second it.
further discussion on that as well? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? 5.4 is a standard workday reporting. And this resolution is for elected and appointed officials. And this is a normal course of action so that the retirement board, state retirement system, is able to determine what retirement benefits, if any, a person has, through the system for the time that they have worked. And it's presented for Greg Blue, Dave Casey, Crystal, and Jocelyn. Those are the ones that we have right now. What did I do with a piece of paper? And that sets forth the number of hours per week. Anything to add to that? Okay,
No, the full resolution will be posted with minutes.
okay. Any questions from the board on that? That's when you're done here, in your service to the town, you may be eligible for some retirement benefits. Unless you're already,
You can donate.
unless you're already in the system and there's nothing there.
None for you.
Is that new?
No, it was usually done in the beginning of the, or after the first 3 months of the year, so that the board members can keep the calendar on their time. And the others. A motion to accept the resolve that the,
I'll make this resolution.
thank you. I was at a loss for words all of a sudden. I will second. All in favor? Aye, opposed. Also on a new business, as the parking committee had mentioned in their conversations with Don, he has it on his radar to pave the lot at 95 Main, the old bank parking lot. He was waiting, the number comes from what the bid specs are, and it would be, the highway would be doing that. They would actually be doing the work, so it's not going out to bid or anything. So do the rest of the work, level it up and cave it. I would make a motion to authorize the highway superintendent at his schedule to pave the parking lot 95 million.
I'll second.
Further discussion, questions? All in favor? Aye, opposed. Do we have any other new business that I do not have? I will open the floor for public comment. Do we want to start online or we want to start here?
Any public comment online?
Okay. So I will open the floor to public comment here. Dar? Find out from lack of use. Good. Yeah.
My name is Star Hesse, and I just have a quick comment to make this evening. I'm very glad to see that legislator Kat Scott is here, and I would like to take this opportunity to thank her, because in every instance where I have observed her working, she's reaching out across areas. She's not just concentrating on her little patch, and she's doing things that are very beneficial to all Sullivan County residents. So thank you, Kat, for all the work you do, and I appreciate your being here. I am especially appreciative because the topic I want to speak on this evening is involving the current garbage glut in Sullivan County and the proposals that are coming down the pike for how that's going to be handled, when and if, and it looks much more likely that when the Seneca Falls landfill closes up. One of the main things that's being looked at right now is a so-called waste to energy trash incinerator, which, if it's put in as the way to handle the trash, it is one of the most toxic, least effective, and most expensive ways to deal with the trash problem. So I don't know if anyone follows the various committee meetings at the government center during the week of last week. But there was a very lively discussion about this at the Public Works Division or committee. And it is just, I can't begin to tell you how devastating this will be if this kind of incinerated garbage goes into effect. I have a little handout if anybody's interested in it. It just lists basically where we are now, why avoiding incineration is so important, and how to avoid some plans on how to avoid incineration and still deal with the trash tsunami that we are all being inundated with. So basically, it's the trash incinerators. They have irreversible consequences. They pollute the air, they pollute the land, they pollute water, they drastically affect the economic viability of the county, both the county itself and the county residents as individual businesses. The two biggest income producing areas in Sullivan County are tourism and second homeowners. And if you have a incinerator that is spewing out pollution, you're not going to get people bringing their families in, and you're certainly not going to have people coming up to bask in the ash that falls from this incinerator. So it's just something that really needs to be concentrated on now. The some legislators are pushing very hard for this incinerator, And it will be just a total economic and ecological disaster if it comes to it. I'm asking people to please read the steps that have been put out on how to avoid this and why we need to avoid it. And to please contact your legislator and or legislators, county officials that are involved in this, and ask them to please do not pursue this any further. It is not the way to go, and it will be a disaster for the residents of Sullivan County. And I'd just like to ask again, I don't know about anybody else, but I had some difficulty hearing from the board when you were speaking here. I know you have these central mics, but it wasn't seeming to be picking up down in this end. So again, could you please try to speak up when we make a presentation? Thank you.
Thank you. Russell?
If there was any update on the amendment to the lead school?
None yet. Unfortunately, no.
Is there anything in terms of putting any sort of deadline to help move that along? I'm just conscious of everybody's time, my own included as well.
Other than reaching out to them again, that's about it.
So you wrote to the board, to the,
Both of them. Yeah, I actually had a meeting in with them upstairs, talked to them upstairs. Which was more than a month ago. Any other public comment from the floor?
just wondering if our legislator in res would like to comment at all on the incinerator proposal. Love to hear your take on it.
So there is, the Public Works Committee does, which I'm not on, but the Public Works Committee is considering this, and there's a Solid Waste Committee. Last week, I did ask them for more information, particularly about any policy that they're looking to adapt for waste reduction. As Star said, Seneca Meadows, may not get an extension. The DEC has sent their application back twice. And I think it's just, like some paperwork issues, I don't think there's anything glaring, but there's no guarantee that Seneca Meadows will be able to extend their, permit beyond this year. I believe the county is looking to put out an RFP, and looking for other places to bring solid waste. So, unfortunately, trash is expensive.
Yeah.
We spend money to buy stuff, and then we have to spend money to throw out the stuff from the stuff that we don't keep. So it is expensive, and one of the things that they are pursuing is an incinerator. Several legislators last year went down to Hempstead, Long Island, where they have an incinerator, and they toured the facility. It's a big issue. It's a big issue.
Yeah.
But there's been other information that has come before us from the public about incineration. And one of the concerns are PFAS, or, forever chemicals,
Right.
and how they don't burn off. So some of that ash, would have to go to special landfills where they specialize in toxic materials. So it's a big thing. Even if we did move forward with an incinerator, it's a 7-year plan before we can even get it up and running. So my concern is with waste reduction. It's expensive, and anyone who's paying attention, and maybe you didn't notice, but the county increased its tipping fees. So there's haulers that are upset with us right now because the tipping fees have been increased, but the county was picking up a portion of that, and so the trash talk in Sullivan is real. So I do encourage people to pay attention to our public works committees and the news articles that come out about it, because it's a really complicated situation. And it's something that we're probably gonna have to take a multi-pronged approach to. I don't believe in magic bullets. I wish there was one magic solution to solve big problems, but in my experience, that isn't what happens. So yeah, I'm looking for that solid waste committee to present us with maybe some ideas on how we can reduce some waste. I know that we did put out a resolution to the state to encourage them to do some waste reduction in packaging, right? Anyone who orders anything from anything online, sometimes it comes in a big box and it's wrapped in a bunch of stuff, and what happens? Yeah, we want to throw all that stuff away, so, I don't know if that's the update you're looking for, but it's a complicated situation that it's a developing situation.
Does that need to be approved by both New York State and the federal government? Does the EPA get involved in the
Seneca Meadows?
incinerator? No, the incinerator.
The incinerator? That's a good question.
What
I
do
believe
you
just the DEC. I believe just the DEC.
Hold
And honestly, we don't even know if the DEC would approve, right? There's
Right.
several levels of doing something like this. That's why it would take about 7 years from start to finish. And before that 7 years, we have to address the problem now because this is becoming a bit of an acute situation. So,
7 years, they'll have new technology.
well, that's a very good point. In 7 years, they would have new technology, but if you wanna develop a project, especially in government, and it takes time.
Kat, did they say, did you throw out any central locations for this incinerator?
Not
or is
yet,
it just
no.
So early that.
Yeah, it's kind of early in the, it's kind of early in the process. But I mean, it hasn't even come up. I believe, we'll probably have to work on several studies before we can get to the next phase. So,
You haven't even made the first half step yet.
I don't believe we have, no. But if this is something you guys would like to hear more on, I'm happy to bring more information, in the coming months.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks. Jen.
Thank you. Any other board comment?
I have a couple of things. Number one, I wanted to apologize for missing most of the Spectrum hearing. I cut cable and it fell out of my head that we were having a public hearing about that, so I apologize. And number two, I doubt that it got brought up before, but I just wanted to acknowledge the passing of Doreen Kraus, who was a very important member of our community, and she and her husband Ed made a lot of contributions, and she will be missed.
Yeah, I just want to second that. They were good neighbors and good citizens.
Mhm.
And sometimes finding people who really want to be citizens showing up like you all do. It's a rare breed. Well, I'll miss them both.
If there is no other board comments, we got no meeting reminders, so
You need a motion to adjourn?
that would be lovely.
So moved.
Second, all in favor? Thank you, folks.